Hi. Hi, Sarah.
Hi. I'm sorry. I feel like a hot mess. Hey,
Oh,
everyone.
you're fine. I literally put my wig on just for this. All right, we're gonna give everyone a little bit more time. We're early birds here, so
Okay, okay,
gonna give everyone a little bit more time. So I'll see you in a little bit, okay?
okay.
Hello, hello, welcome. If you guys have any questions about your machine, now is a great time to bring that up while we wait for everyone else to come on board. So if anyone's having any issues or, troubleshooting errors, I'm here to help as much as I possibly can. Um, there's a lot of different machines like this, but they basically do the same thing with the buttons switched around a little bit. So pretty much not that difficult. Hi, Tatiana. Nice to see you.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Excited to have you here. I'm like, oh, this is like a little girls' night,
I
wig
know, I'm
maker edition,
excited.
right?
How have you been with the babies?
Whew, pretty good. It's whipping my butt. I'll be very honest. But it's just a lot of pivoting and adjusting. But I don't know, I feel like it's been making me better. So like I'm learning, get the hang of it. Trying.
Gotta do what you
How are
can.
you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I don't have any children of my own, but I get to spoil my god baby and my little twin cousin.
Oh,
So yeah,
we
they're
need
a
that.
handful.
I thank God. I tell my sister-in-law all the time. I'm like, don't rush to have kids. We like the kids need a rich auntie, please.
Yeah.
We we can't all be struggling here.
All right. Spoil them, love them, and leave them. That's all they need.
Exactly. Hi everyone, welcome. I want to see if there's anyone else that's not able to come in, but we're almost at 6:30, so I'll give like another 2 minutes just in case. But I think that's pretty much it. We have a small group, so and I'm honestly really happy. I was nervous that it was going to be too many of y'all, and I haven't learned to like cross my eyes that well to like watch everybody. So this is like the best class size I could have asked for. So all right, let me see how I can just
What is
switch you guys around. I want to see if I can see everyone's perfect.
perfect?
You're ready. Who else? There we go. Okay. All right. So whoever is ready to share their not share their screen, but set up your camera. If you're having any issues, let me know. So far, I see two people. Tatiana, I know you're gonna be Sarah. You're watching, and then Tatiana, you're ready to hop on board.
Yeah,
Cool.
I'm ready.
I want to see if there's anyone else before I start. Now, I wanted to make a unit literally like start to finish. That's what we're doing today. So if you don't have your knots bleached, that's completely fine. Neither do I. I normally do that after, um, depending on the time frame. So we're just going to be constructing today. So we're starting fresh with a cap and our closure, and we're making a full wig today live. All right. So has anyone had any issues when it comes to applying the closure to the cap?
No, I hadn't.
Okay, perfect.
And I actually sold mine down already, so I mean.
Oh, you're ready. Okay, well, hold. Is anyone else there? Because I have some ready already. I was gonna, yeah, let me go get the one that's already ready. Because
Well,
let me just hop in.
I hand sewed it. I haven't did it on the machine yet.
Well, what size is it? Is it
It's a 4x4.
Oh, those are, yeah. Okay, I see what you mean. I got you. So I have a 6x6, and the only ones that I've been successful at sewing down on the machine without hand stitching would be a 4x4 or a 5x5.
Okay.
And really it's because when you look at a 5x5 lace closure, this is basically the top of it. This is like a 5x5 right here. So when you apply that closure to the lace, apply that closure to the cap, you're basically just lining it up with that seam.
Okay.
Yeah. So those are, but anything bigger than that, like a 6x6, I still have to sew it from hand. And I think I have a 6x6 today. So I would be sewing it from hand today. All right. So let me go ahead and make sure these headphones are. I'm sorry, y'all. My bad. I touched my headphones and it ended the whole class. We're back. All right, so let's go ahead, and if you have your cap sewn on or your piece sewn together, let's go ahead and get into this. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and move my camera around this way so we can get a nice overshot view. Let's see if it's in the chat. Perfect. Get it a little bit closer. I wish I could zoom in. How's that look to everyone? Is that a good angle for you?
Yes.
Okay. I wonder if I could get a little bit closer. So I'm bring this down a little bit more. Ooh. Sorry, 1 second. All right. Okay, so when you start sewing your unit together, we want to go ahead and go over the lace, but the edge of the lace, not necessarily, you don't want to sew over this. You want to sew at the strongest point right here. And we always want to start with doing a front stitch, back stitch, front stitch, back stitch, at least 4 times. So I'm going to go ahead and start. Please let me know if it's hard to see or hear. Okay, perfect. Right. Sewing machine on. Now I do have it on, let me just take the speed down. I have it on 650, but that is very, 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 very fast. So we're gonna bring it down to like 365 speed. So I'm gonna go ahead and sew forward and sew back, sew forward, sew back, and sew forward. And now where I'm stitching, make sure I have my little waver, something to do that. Where I'm stitching, I don't want to stitch all the way on this far side. I want to stitch as close to the edge as I possibly can, but obviously not stitching the closure down. And the reason being is because the next step, we're going to be creating a nice seam around the edge of the closure, so that we can prevent it from separating or ripping or anything like that. So it just makes your unit a lot more durable. Oh, so here my thread is popping. When stuff like this happens, look at this. So what I do is I just cut that piece off, and it's telling me that something is wrong with my bobbin. So I'm going to check, and I do have this little cap that's covering my bobbin that is loose. And if it's not fitting on there correctly, it actually causes tangling in the bobbin when it's touching it. So I want to make sure, this is just my own error, like me, you know, this is my oldest machine. So I'm going to pop this on. And sometimes you can even hear the bobbin tapping on something and interfering with the cycle. So let's go ahead and try that again. I'm going to go ahead and rethread this quickly. And when I rethread it, I'm not too sure how everyone's machine is, but you want to hear that tip that it hooked on there. Through. Cutting this thread. Where is my other one? There we go. She got the bad scissors today. All right. And I'm putting it up here. Bringing it down in between. I'm putting it in the eye. And then I'm going left to right. Ooh. Pull it out. And I'm going to go back and take my closure and start back over. Go in. Well, now I don't hear any weird sounds. I don't hear this clacking, just means a little bit of oil, but normally I hear tapping inside the machine and it'll actually start bunching up and sounding like a crunching noise when something's wrong. So this is sounding really good. I'm going a little faster, keeping it at the very edge. My advice is to make sure you keep the hair out of the way as much as possible because it will create a buckle at the lace and it'll have a little hump. So they'll try to flat iron it to make it smooth and it won't go smooth because it's constructed. There's like a hump on there. So I want to make sure I move this hair out the way and I'm not sewing over any hair. So that I can keep my unit nice and flat. Here. And I'm going super slow just so y'all can see exactly where I'm stitching. Back stitch, forward stitch, back stitch. Trim off the thread. Now, this is my favorite part. Let me get my scissors really quick. Where did it go? All right, so this part is pretty easy, but I just want to show you guys exactly where to cut. So what I'm doing is I'm holding this extra piece in the middle of my hand, and I want to cut about 1/4 of an inch away from where the thread is. So I'm going to go here, carefully, not cutting the lace. Excuse my nails. It's just, it's that time. I'm going to go around and around. And I'm going to make sure that I'm using my finger underneath as a guide to prevent me from cutting the lace or even just cutting too much off. Next, I'm gonna go with these corners right here, and I'm just gonna cut a little slit so it's easier for me to fold over. You're gonna go for a little spin there. One more spin. Hello. And tighten. Oh, it's not tightening. Oh, there we go. All right. I want it to sit still. All right, one more spin, one more spin, one more spin. A few more spins. I don't know. I actually think it's out of spins. All right. I'm just okay. Leave it alone. All right. So next, I'm gonna flip the unit inside out. And what we're gonna do is we're going to flip this back. You see, normally this is how it's usually how I see it's usually left, but that is gonna end up falling apart. People are very rough with their wigs. They aren't delicate, you know, so most people are very rough with their wigs. So what we want to do is we want to flip this over nice and tight, and we want to stitch right here all the way down around the cap like that. So here you're going to watch me do that. I'm going to go ahead and slide this in. I am working with HD lace. It is very fragile. So just be careful. I'm going to flip this down. Then I'm going to go ahead and just let my needle, manually put my needle in a second to prevent it from popping. So that's a step I usually forget. Ooh, there we go. Back stitch, forward stitch, and I'm pulling this back. Look how clean that looks. There we go. Flip it over. Keep flipping it, and that little seat, the little slit I cut, it just makes it easy for me to go around. And what I'm doing is I'm going underneath. Try not to put your finger under the needle, but I'm going underneath to move the hair out of my way. And I'm holding this nice and taut. Way, so I'm not stitching on it there. Put this over. Go around the corner. Now let's see what we got. So now we have this excess cap right here. I'm gonna go ahead and just snip that off. Just like that, I'm holding it like this between my fingers. And this is what I'm cutting off, this excess cap right here. Okay. And you want to just be careful, don't move too fast, because you don't want to cut a hole into your cap or accidentally snip the lace. I mean, you guys will know how to fix it, but it's just, you know, more time you have to spend on it. see what we're working with. See how neat that looks? And then what I'll do is like whatever doesn't look right or feel right, I just trim off the little excess. Actually, this right here. So whenever it looks, you guys don't have to do this. I'm a nut job, okay? I'm a nut job. But you see those little threads right there? That's where I actually pre-stitched it. So I'm just gonna cut those off so it doesn't like create any like tension on the top or buckling, just where I noticed it. It's not that serious. You guys do not have to do this. Like I said, I'm just a nut job. So yeah, there you go. I don't want it to look rippled, you know, like right here, it looks very rippled. Excuse my nails. Just gonna go under and I'm just gonna take that stitch out. And the thread that I use is called invisible thread in black. I prefer it because I feel like it looks very similar to hair. So it blends in easier with a cap. And it just looks more seamless and professional. There we go. Just cleaning that up. And I might come back and just kind of trim this little excess cap here. I could feel some of the threads kind of just adding a little too much tension in certain spots too, and I don't want to interfere with the sizing or the fit at all. All right. Through and just clean that up. Clean that up. And I'm gonna probably just stop there before I get myself in trouble. It's kind of addicting. Yeah. Okay. Sweet. Got that down. Make sure. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and start sewing our unit. Now, I just want to see how everything looks. Very flat. I like that, no ruffling or anything like that. And what you can do too is just like, you see some hair coming out this way. I promise you, as annoying as it looks to fix, it does make a difference when it comes to styling the wig. For example, how the thread is just like overlapping on the hair. I'm still gonna have to come back after this to take some of this hair out through the thread, because when I sew the weft over, it creates a gap. And oh my God, that gap is so annoying to like try to fix and style over, because it wants to separate or it wants to create a buckle around the head. So that's why I'm super precise about, you know, my units, and I'll go the extra mile, because if you think about it, like we've all had customers that are just like super anxious, especially now during this economy, which I completely understand. They freak out fast, and you know, they sometimes don't take much time to process something. They're like quick to panic and like, oh, it's bad. Oh, it's bad. It's a bad product. It's a bad job. It's a bad, you know. So, you know, I just try to eliminate a lot of those type of errors by making sure, you know, little things like this don't stop me. Because if it's a problem for me, it's going to be a bigger problem for the client when they wear it, because, you know, they don't really know how to style their hair like the way we do. So there we go. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and get our wefts. I think, which one am I doing? I think I'm doing this one. I have two here. Okay, let's stick that over there. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and take my weft. Now, you guys know I do not double my wefts, but if you double your wefts, you are more than welcome to do that. Listen, I'm not judging. The reason I don't like doubling my wefts is because I don't like the big gap in between the spaces in between the cap. And I also don't like how bulky it looks, especially when you do like 4 or 5 wefts, you double it. Some clients want a lot of hair, and you know, I've had to double wefts before. But normally when it comes to pre-made wigs and all that, I try to keep it as natural as possible. And that's what's worked for me. So go ahead. Probably. So now when I start this first weft, this is what I like to do. So I'm gonna start this first track at this edge. This is your guideline right here. This is your guideline. You want to follow the first weft all the way around like this. And then you do not want to sew over this elastic piece. You want to sew right above this elastic piece so that the wig can still stretch as it needs to. But if you sew over that, it's gonna create tension and it's not gonna be able to stretch to its full, capacity. So that can also interfere with how a wig feels on somebody. It might feel like it's gonna fall off because it's not able to shrink and create that grip on the head. It's going to be kind of like stiff. So it's going to easily slide off the head. I've learned that myself, making several good and bad ways. So I'm going to go ahead and take this weft. I'm going to apply it right over top. Back stitch, forward stitch, back stitch, forward stitch. And then what I'm doing is I'm using my kind of like, I'm thinking of an appropriate example, but literally maybe like a pen or like a pen or like you're going to braid hair, right? I'm going to hold my weft in my hand like that. And then I use my middle finger to do the guiding. And then I want to make sure that I'm not sewing over this little piece here for our elastic band. I'm going to move that to the side and I'm going to stitch right above this seam. There. So it does not interfere with the tension of this unit. And I don't want to say I'm stretching it, but I'm smoothing it. I'm smoothing it out, right? And I'm just allowing the ball to kind of just move the cap around for me. Going all the way down to that very edge. Slowly, back stitch, like you're literally driving a car. Up. And just follow that line. And I like to use my two fingers here to just hold on to it so it doesn't spin out and kind of like start sewing in all types of crazy directions. And smoothing it. Oops, 1 second. Have to upgrade my Zoom so that it doesn't shut us off. Good. Come on, come on. All right, now, thank you. Okay, perfect. This meeting now has unlimited minutes. Thank you. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and keep sewing. Smoothing it, smoothing it. And then I'm gonna go around, slowly hit this corner, rotate, 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 rotate. And when you want to rotate it, you might just see yourself stitching in the same spot, but moving the cap around. Just like that. Make sure you're not overlapping anything. There. Perfect. Now, I like to cut my wefts. Some people don't. Some people like to double them. So if you want to double your wefts, I'll show you what that looks like actually. So if I wanted to double this weft, I'm not double it. If I wanted to flip it over, do the flip over method, I would stitch, I would pull this last piece back slightly, literally sew right on top of it, and go slow because it's a thick piece. Back stitch, you want to back stitch, forward stitch, back stitch at least 4 times so that it's flat. If you just sew it over, it's going to have a little hump. It's just, yeah. So I go down and then I rotate, and you can just pick up your footer and drop it down, rotate it to make it easier. Back stitch, forward stitch. Make sure I'm not ruffling anything. Go around. Smoothen it. Oops. And then this is why I usually end up cutting my the weft anyways, because I have to sew over this. So if you can be very crafty and probably just line it up where you're not sewing over the, well, actually, if I flip it this way, there you go. If I keep it right here, then I won't have any issues. So let's do that. So, switch, and let's see. Yep, we're good. So I didn't interfere with those little latches, and now I'm gonna rotate it. And this is me not cutting the weft right here. Oh, I went too fast. So my needle didn't pop, but my thread popped because I didn't drop my needle in first. I just took off. So it actually pulled out. Learn from my mistakes. There we go. Drop it in. Oh. And now when I'm sewing right in this nape area, you want to make sure you're not sewing over this. This is going to prevent your customers from being able to hook the latch in to tighten their, fasten or tighten their wig if they need to. So I want to make sure that I'm sewing right under that. Here. And then same thing you would do on that side. I would just pick this up. And eventually, if this is how you prefer to do it without cutting the wefts, then you really won't have to check as much because it's going to become like memory. So it's just going to be a habit that you know right here is where that line, that thread is where you can sew. So I'm going to go ahead and sew over this little piece that's already stitched. So I'm going to just pivot a little bit, stitch that down. Ooh. And it did it again. See, that's what happens when I don't listen. Rethread. Actually, I should watch me do this. Oh, again? That's weird. Maybe it's something with my bobbin. Oh, it is something with my bobbin. So look at that. That's an issue with my bobbin. That's why it keeps popping. So now let's see what's going on. Oh, my little thingy moved around. I'm gonna pull this. Okay, looks good. Make sure my tension isn't too high. Pull this. Good. Bring this up. See, y'all see where them 53 minutes went to. Literally every time. And these are like just little small things that set your time back. having to rethread. And because this piece, I ended up, I think what I do, using it for a different machine. So I had my mechanic order me a new piece and it doesn't fit. It fit when he was there though. That's crazy. Down. And worst comes to worst, we're going in the wagon. Oh, girl, she acted up today. Okay, I'm gonna make sure it's not tapping. Okay, good. Bring her back. Oh, okay. Good. Going over everything, smoothing it. Go around. You're not stretching it, you're just like smoothing it. So, and allow the machine to do most of the work for you. And then bring that. And then if I wanted to continue going back and forth and doing the flip over method, I can. I would just fold this over. And let me show you guys what it looks like for the other, the first piece that we started. Let me just cut this through. So this is when I flip the weft over and I don't cut it. This is how it looks. You really can't tell that I flipped the weft over. What do you guys think? But this is the flip over method. So I didn't cut the tracks, I just flipped it over. And it's still very flat. Well, I'm gonna keep doing it this way so you guys can also just see how far I can get with flipping it over without having to cut the weft, because there are people who don't like cutting the weft, and I completely understand. But normally what I would do is I would just bring it up, cut it, bring it back down, cut it, so on and so on. But today I'm going to show you just like how far I can get without cutting the wefts as well. So now I'm going to go back to where I left off. I'm going to flip this over ever so slightly. Just like that. And I'm going to push it forward. So let me bring this a little bit closer. So when I flip this down, I want to just push it down like this. Oops, like this. I'm going to stick that right under the machine. And I'm going to hand turn it. Let me make sure. In there, see it has a thick piece there. There we go. I'm going to slowly stitch. Back, forward, back, forward, back, forward. Because I want to make sure it's nice and flat. And then here, instead of going down and making it L, I'm just going to go across, because there's no point in doing all that. You're going to make it bulky right here. So we want to make sure we keep everything nice and flat. So I'm going to bring it down at an angle, diagonal back, and then I'm going to slightly pivot the weft up, rotate, and I'm following my body, the weft that I have underneath this weft right here. So I'm just following that as my guide. I do not mark on the caps. Personally, I don't want to get too comfortable with that. I want to be able to just, get right into work, and I've never had to do that. So The cap gives you all of the guide, but when you're working on a cap that is like a dome cap, you don't know where the ears are, you don't know where the temple is, you don't know, you can't really tell where you are on that type of cap. So I see why people do it, but this, I've never had to do that for these caps. So I'm gonna go ahead and follow here, bring it down, up, following the shape of the cap, and then bring it up. And just keep following it. I hear something weird. Hold up. Okay, I thought I heard a crunch sound. Sorry. I really listen to my machine because you don't want to ignore certain sounds, and next thing you know, your machine is not working. So I listen to everything. I'll take this down. Now, real quick, I just want to show you guys this next step, and I will have to cut the track, and this is why. So whenever I am working on the nape section, I've learned that if I create like an kind of like an anchor where it's basically like a rectangle block, so it goes from up here all the way around. When the customer wears it, it actually tucks under their head, and I don't know how to explain it, but it's like more flush to their head. Before, how I did it is I used to just, sew all around. And I always had this weird problem where this piece would like stick up, like it would stick up against my head. But ever since I made that change, it folds in and it hugs my head. Oh my God, I love my wigs. Like, so I'm gonna show you that I do have to cut the weft. So we tried, but I can't skip that step because it's too effective. I literally have two wigs. One has that same technique and the other does not. The one that does not have that technique is honestly the most annoying wig to wear for me personally. And I'm very picky about how wigs fit on my head. Um, I don't like anything over my ears. I don't like too much tension around my head because I don't want to get a headache. So I pay attention to those little details, but they make a huge impact in my opinion. So now I have my first, let's see, normally we do, yep, we have the 1, 2, 3. So like your third weft up, this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and get this track and I'm going to apply 1, starting from this right here where the seam is. I'm gonna sew right on top of it, all the way across horizontally. I'm gonna do 2 wefts like that first. So let's start and make 2 wefts just like that. I'm gonna go and keep a finger width apart, just like that. And I wanna make sure I keep it nice and straight. And I wanna meet all the way to this point right here. So just all the way across. Right here is where I stop. Stop, back stitch, stop, or forward stitch, back stitch. And then I'm gonna trim this off. And then I'm gonna come around and do the same thing again. I'm gonna keep it a finger width apart, placing this track right here, right on this seam. I'm gonna follow this weft, keeping it straight, just like that. Go slow and steady. Slow and steady. Slow and steady. Cut this weft. Now I have two random wefts in the middle of my wig. What are we gonna do next? Make sure all the excess thread is cut. I'm gonna see how we're looking underneath here. Okay, cool. So now I have my wig, I have the lace facing up top, and then I'm basically looking at the back of the wig. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna slide it under, and I'm gonna turn the wig to its side. I'm gonna go ahead and get this weft. I'm gonna bring it down, place this track right here, creating an L shape. So it looks a little funny, but I promise you it makes a huge difference on how your wig sits, because we all have an occipital bone, which is that point in the back of our head, and this helps it hook onto our occipital bone and just be more flushed against the neck. So I'm gonna place this right here, and it's gonna look odd. It's gonna look very odd and awkward. Make sure you're stitching very close to the edge so that it doesn't buckle up, or, the customer can comb it out. Make sure it's nice and flat, and I'm gonna follow this line. And then I'm gonna make sure I'm a finger width apart from my previous weft, and I'm gonna turn it, pivot, back horizontal, meeting my previous weft. Forward. That's my weft there. And then I'm at this point. So now I'm gonna just push it up gently, turn that corner, back stitch, forward stitch, pivot, and I'm gonna come down right where that line is. Slightly sew over this weft, trim off that excess weft right there. Now I'm going to take this out. So now this is what it looks like. It looks kind of weird, but that's how you know it's right. So I'm going to have this here. Now from moving forward, what we're going to do is this is going to be our guide. So now we're going to go curve, and we're going to make a C shape, and then we're slightly going to get straighter and straighter and straighter, and then we're just going to follow the cap around. So, all right, let's get into it. So I'm going to go back, put it right back under there. Make sure this is good. Now I'm going to get my weft, and I'm going to start where I left off. All right, I just realized you guys can see my toilet. Kind of gross. Whew. Here we go. That's cuter. All right, second. Make sure I'm sewing right over this weft. Let me go closer. There we go. Okay. Ooh, hold up. I'm hearing that little clacking. 1 second. Back. Okay. Yes, I'm good. All right. So I'm gonna go around, and I'm just gonna follow my previous weft. Go around. And I'm keeping it a finger width apart. Now, here's what I also want to let you guys know that, know this. Whenever you see me post wigs where the wefts are like this close, they're stacked, I will be very honest. I do not like doing wigs like that. And here's why. When when I fill up the cap so much, there's no room for the cap to stretch. That wig is going to be very stiff. So I've had to turn down business because people have wanted extreme densities, and I know it's not going to work well, and the fit is not going to be right. So I deny the service, to be honest. Um, because I've made the mistake every time of doing what the customer's requesting, even though I don't think it's a good idea, and then having to pay the expenses to and time to fix it. You know what I mean? When I could have just like not had the headache in the first place. So I always like to leave at least a width or at least a pinky width apart of space in between my track, because if that is all gone, like let's just shrink this up, your cap is gonna there's not gonna be any room to stretch it, and then it's also gonna interfere with the size, so it's gonna feel very stiff, and that wig is not gonna be able to grip on your head, with so much tension and stiffness in that. So that's just my 2 cents. So I'm gonna go ahead and just keep it a width apart, and so all the way down, following my previous wefts. Around. And then I usually just cut the weft. And if you have wefts that kind of are prone to more shedding, some it's not necessarily always a quality thing, but sometimes it's just the way that the wefts are. If you hand tie your wefts yourself, you definitely don't want to be cutting that. Or you want to make sure that you use, I like to use clear nail polish, and I'll just get some nail polish and I'll just put it at the very edge right here. Let that dry, and then that'll prevent the hair that I cut from continuing to shed. So that's a little tip as well if you don't want to avoid shedding and all that, but still want to cut your wefts because you just feel like it's a better process for you. That's what I recommend. So now I'm going to go back and I'm just going to keep going left to right, left to right, left to right, and you see how it's getting a little bit straighter as we go up. We are following the shape of the cap and the head. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this next bundle. Forward. Now, also want you to see here, I'm teaching you guys as if I'm teaching you as if I'm hiring you tomorrow. So I'm going to show you every little detail. So here I have how the weft connects to the previous track, right? You don't want to leave your track overlapping like that, because what happens is that this is going to start getting brushed, combed, and this is going to start peeling up. And, your client's going to have a whole track come out at some point, or it'll start sticking out and looking noticeable. So I make sure that I sew there literally on top of that weft, literally evenly, just like that. And I slide that under. And then start with a back stitch, and then a forward stitch, and then a back stitch, and then a forward stitch, finger width apart. See how that's flat? The can't be peeled up, it can't be brushed. This is why the wigs last 10 years. These little details. Right here, I'm gonna sew, stop, right there, back stitch, forward, back, forward, back. And if you want to use the nail polish, that's where you would add a top of that. But I actually have my weft sealed already. So sometimes I do that just if I'm working with different textures, like I don't know, like a silkier texture, I definitely have more shedding because it's I don't know, something with straight silky hair, it it's so annoying. So I do find myself using a weft sealer for that texture. But this one is like a wave to it, so there's certain texture in there. Okay, nice. Bring it back. Now, as you pick up your speed, as you do this more often, what I would say is just like how the other day or yesterday, I timed myself making 6 wigs, right? Uh, these little things, like 53 minutes of just time kind of like being wasted was, unraveling the bundle, rethreading the machine, stopping, changing stuff on my phone, all that. So you want to keep doing that. You want to keep testing yourself, timing yourself, and marking down where your time is going at least once a week. Because you'd be surprised how much money you can make in an hour or 2 hours. At some point that's going to become very important because your time is going to cost. So the more you can construct and build in a short amount of time, the better. Then you can kind of have more free time in your schedule to do things you really want to do. Like that. I'm going to sew this down a little bit more. And then another thing is you guys see me taking off the cap, taking the wig off the ball over and over and over again. You don't have to do that. That is me trying to just cut the thread so I don't have a bunch of thread balled up. But honestly, this is how I would do it. I would go ahead and start here. Finger width apart. And then since this is just literally a piece left over, I'm going to fold that over up. There's no reason to cut that. Fold it over, do the fold over method. Back stitch, forward, back, forward. Hold it, finger width apart. Stop there. And just keep going. So really you would just keep going, pivoting one side to the other. You don't have to stop and cut the thread and all that. You could just keep going. The less that you have to stop, the faster you'll be. Apply this over top. You want to make sure you line this, not up here, not down here. You want to apply it right over top the previous strap. So it just looks more seamless. see if I did that. I'm also trying to sew with the phone right in front of my face. This over. I will cut the track here just because I want to move it up a little bit more. So now I want to bring it up this way, right here, kind of lining it up with this weft right here. So right where I have this turn, I'm going to line it up just like that. Forward, back, forward, back, forward. Finger width apart. So next, this is also a lifesaver too. So and what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to make sure that everything is symmetrical because I hate when I have one spot that needs more hair than the other. I try to make everything as even as possible so one side of the wig does not look fluffier than the other side, like have a higher density on this side than that side. So that's why I like to go back and forth and just make sure that I'm lining it up to where everything meets. Normally for a side part wig, that is impossible to go around. Obviously, because you're going to need more volume on one side. So middle parts, yes, I want to keep it as symmetrical as possible. So, forward that, forward that. Flip it around and keep going. See here? This is what I'm talking about. I don't know if you guys can see it, but this hair sticking, I'm just going to comb that up. I want to make sure that the top of this wig is flat. Through. You just keep going. So now you're gonna have one, the track evenly going around. Bring this up. So this one, I honestly don't want. I don't like to sew too many wefts around the closure. Honestly, I would just, and I don't even like to sew over top the closure anymore because I've learned that that also creates a buckle around the lace closure. So I'm gonna sew around it. So I'm gonna sew right. I'm gonna place this up here. Right where the seam is, I'm gonna stitch it right there, like right underneath it. Because then it's even flatter, and this flawlessly lays over. See how clean that looks when it just flawlessly goes over it without creating a lump right here? So I'm gonna make sure that I'm not sewing over this lace. Oh, y'all legs about to look crispy. Woo! Bring it down. All this here out the way, start right underneath that lace closure. Oh, you heard that? Together. So I'm gonna go through and make sure, yeah, that looks good actually. See right here. You just flip in there and just pull out those short hairs. And then how we're looking inside. So after I'm done making a wig, I like to flip it inside out. And you see all this jumbled up hair? This is when what I was just going back and forth, not jumble up hair, jumble up thread. That's when I was going back and forth, not cutting it. So the only thing is you just gotta make sure you go back and just trim off that thread. But honestly, it's easier to do that at the end, actually. Pick up any thread. And then after this, I'm gonna do the elastic band and wig comb. Oops, I'm gonna accidentally sew it over my little strap. I'm gonna get my seam ripper. I don't wanna pull it in. There you go. There you are. Going through, trimming that off. Now, after you make your wig, you also want to make sure you do like a good, just a 2 minute straight brush. Just brush through the wig for like 2 minutes straight, just so that you can get whatever excess hair from cutting the wefts out, and it doesn't freak your customer out thinking that the wig sheds. So I've had that happen to me too. Like, I'm sorry, literally forgot to brush it out because we were rushing. I brushed out a good amount of times and it was not shedding. So we want to make sure we get all that excess um, you know, that shedding out from cutting the wax. But other than that, if it continues to shed and continues to shed, you definitely want to go through, use a nail polish or a wax sealer, but it just depends on where you're getting your hair from. So normally me, I just use a little bit of this, but most of the time I don't even have to do that. I just sew over it a couple times, like you saw me do, back stitch forward, back stitch forward. So this is how our cap is looking inside. Stretch. So whenever you have the wefts super, super close together, check this out. So if I had this weft right here, right, and it's time to stretch, there's not that much space to really stretch it. But when I have a good amount finger width or 2 finger width, I get all, you see that stretch right there? So when your customer puts her wig on, she's gonna put it on and then she's gonna stretch this back. If she's finding herself in a situation where it's not stretching, the wig is going to slide off her head. It's not going to feel like it's secure or that it fits her. It's going to feel loose, actually. And that could also just be it's too small because the cap shrunk because of all the space it's taken out. But I want to make sure that there's enough stretch in my wig so that when they pull it over their braids, it stretches. So. So now I'm going to go ahead and grab an elastic band and wig foam, and I'm going to show you how I sew the elastic bands in the elastic band and wig foam. I only do one wig foam at the nape, and of course, the elastic band. But if I have a customer where her cap is fitted to her, like I did an alteration on the cap, I don't have to put elastic bands. Most of the time, I don't even put wig combs because it feels so comfortable and it's snug on their head that they really don't need that. I've actually learned that it makes it too tight when I add the elastic bands. So when they're fitted, I normally don't, but it just depends on the customer and what they prefer. So let me go get one of those. All right. So here's the elastic band I like to get. Nice and stretchy. I think this is like a 1 inch. Yeah, I want to say a 1 inch elastic band. Y'all remember when we used to do the 2 inch, the big ones? I don't know if you guys ever did that. I did that. Oh Lord, never again. It was cute in the beginning. I was like, oh wow, it's so much, but it stretched out so much. And they just had this big chunk of fabric. I didn't like it. So now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna flip this under. Now, here's the thing. When you have your wig cap, you see these lines? Let me second, actually. So right here, this part is directly on the temples. So you don't want to put your elastic band this far forward because when you pull it back, when they put it on, it's going to slide the wig off. You want to place it to where it's literally right behind the hairline, which would be right here. So I always use this as a guideline on where to sew my elastic bands. I'm going to flip this over though, so that this part that's hooking onto the head is not going to grab onto the hair. So we want to make sure that this is facing the opposite. So it should look like this. I'm going to flip this up. And I'm going to sew right on this weft. So I'm going to go ahead and align it, position it. just like that, like right under it. If you sew over it, it's gonna create kind of just like a thick piece. So sew right under your guide right here. So it's nice and flat, just like that. And then I'm gonna flip this over, move this hair out the way. That's where I'm stitching right here. You see? That is where we're gonna stitch today. Bring this over. Oh, y'all forgive me. I got this phone in my face. Let me move up a little bit closer. There we go. Forward stitch, back stitch, forward stitch, at least 3 times. And then see, you're gonna have to just go over your work. Always check your work. Always check your work. So here, I'm gonna go in. If I sewed over some hair and I don't want this tangling up, if someone was trying to brush their wig and it started forming, like you see how it's forming a knot there? You just want to brush that out before the customer receives it. Through and just gently pull it up, not where I'm pulling the thread. I just want to pull up the hair so it's nice and flat. Perfect. Sure. And if you ever cut the elastic piece, make sure you get a lighter and just burn it so it doesn't spray out. Do the opposite side, pull this up. I'm gonna make sure all the hair is out of the way. And then place this right in front of this line. Like this. Look, it has a little space there for you. Place it right there. Get a bit close, get close and personal. So elastic bands are added. And then we're gonna do the wig comb. Now, I'll be honest, sewing the wig comb when I first started was scary as hell. I ain't never broke so many needles in my life. Let me show you how I do it. Just gonna trim off this thread booger is what I like to call it. Perfect. Now I'm going to go ahead and get the nape of my unit. I only add one wig comb. My clients do not like the wig combs on the sides. I don't either. But I like to use the clasp just to kind of hook under my elastic band. So let me get that. So when you have your wig comb, you don't want to sew it like this. You want to fold them in just like that. So I'm going to start with folding this one, and then I'm going to get the nape of this unit. Right underneath here. So you could start right behind the tag, but me personally right here. I when I stretch my wig, I hook it on from here, not from here. So I like it pretty close to the scalp or to my neck. So I'm gonna go ahead and fold this, fold it over, center it with your wig tag, or not your wig tag, but your size tag. Just kind of like place it where the size tag is in the middle of the phone. Fold that over. Make sure all the hair is out the way as much as possible. Apply it underneath. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and just manually start it off. And I'm going to go closer, and you want to go slow. I might hit it. I might. Oh, you heard that. Yeah, already. Trying to get a good angle. So I go slow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the reason I go so slow is because it gives the needle time to move this away. If I speed through it, this is going to hit the needle and it's just going to break the needle, and I'm going to be here for another 5 minutes trying to fix it. So I'm going slowly. And then I'm going to back stitch. There we go. All right, let's take a look at this. We have our wig comb here. Elastic bands. And this is two full bundles of hair in a lace closure, a 6x6 lace closure. Still very full, so it's a pretty full wig. I'm just gonna bundle it up so you guys can see. That's still a lot of hair. That's a good amount of hair. We didn't have to double wefts or anything. And I believe we used, yeah, I used all of the hair. So all 2 bundles. All right. Now, does anyone have any questions or
I do.
concerns? Yes.
So when you did the stitching close to the nape of the neck where the occipital bone, the cap is going to lay on the occipital bone, could you do that for any other
Yeah.
wig cap? So like the ones that have the like lacing going vertical down, would you do the same method with those caps?
That's a good question. I personally feel like you can, as long as it has like the shape. Does that cap still have like the shape
Yeah,
of
it
the
does.
head?
It has the
Oh,
temple and everything. Yeah.
oh, yeah, I would definitely do it. Yeah, you should be good. The only thing I would be concerned is if it was like a cap, like for example, the open ventilated caps. You
Yeah.
can still attempt it, but
Mhm.
because there's like no guide of where the ears are or anything like that, I don't know how that's gonna feel or look. But
Okay.
you can definitely do that on all full lace.
Okay.
Perfect. Any more questions for me?
Where do you
No,
get
I
your
think are we all
thread?
good?
The thread that you use? You said it was like a clear black thread.
Thread. This one, right?
Yeah, where do you get that? Where do you purchase yours from?
Yes. So I get this on Amazon. I have the link on the Yes, I have the link on my student portal. So when you go to the onboarding, I'll send it again in the group chat actually. But
Okay.
yeah, I get it from Amazon, and it's like you want to be careful that you don't get the rubber thread
Okay.
There's like, it's so confusing. There's one that is like thick, like wire and hair, like this one, but then there's also a nylon thread that stretches. It's like a rubber.
Okay.
You don't want to get that one. So you guys the link so you can see where I get this in a normal. Let's see what else. And everyone got the. I guess we're good. Is there any other questions you guys have for me possibly? No? Okay, perfect. So what I kind of just want to go over is Monday we are going into weeks 3 and 4. Let me turn off the camera. We're going into weeks 3 and 4. This is color, like color. So I do see that there is going to be more kind of like mentorship and just communication for that phase because I will admit it is a little harder. However, when it comes to the curriculum that I'm building, I didn't want to set you guys up in a situation where I'm just giving you formulas. You know what I mean? So in this course, I'm going to be teaching you and strengthening your formulation and color theory so that the techniques that I'm showing you, like, okay, this is how I create the technique, but I'm not going to tell you what products to put on it. We're going to formulate that together. I'm going to give you my example, and then you're going to create your own formula so that you have creative freedom versus trying to make something look like that. Because I could make the same wig every single time, same color technique, same formula, same consistency, and it always comes out different. So I don't want to put that pressure where you guys feel like your product has to look exactly like my product or my color or however, because that will stress you out and that'll actually kill your creativity. So I really want you to be strong with color because that, besides wig, color is where the money's at. People will pay because they're paying less than what they would pay in a traditional hair salon getting their hair services. So it lasts longer on a wig and it's more inexpensive, but we still are making a good amount because, we have more time and flexibility in our schedule and we're able to work on multiple projects at a time. So tomorrow is weeks 3 and 4 that launches. I'm very excited. And if you guys have any questions or concerns or need some help with formulating, I'm here. I'm excited. So, but also don't forget to submit before pictures of how you were coloring your wigs prior. Was there, did you have issues with the blending? I want you guys to showcase that in the picture uploading those pictures so that by the end of this course, I want to make sure that you have improved with color as well. Because color cosmetology school is great and all, but if I could have done it another way without having to spend 20 grand in cosmetology school, I would.
I
So
agree
I'm
with
giving
that.
y'all that because Lord have mercy. Has anyone been to cosmetology school here?
Me,
You, girl, you already
2007.
know.
I
Look at
already
us.
know. Oh no.
Um, when I was teaching at Aveda, they actually had wig classes like on the portal, but like students had to take that on their own time. So they put it in there and say they teach wig making, but they don't. They don't. It's crazy. So, anyways, other than that, I also want you guys to give me your feedback as well throughout this process because I am going to, even after we finish the 7-week program, I'm going to be adding more content for the remainder of the year. The goal is to actually create a wig making manual for other wig companies so that they would buy the course to teach their team to make wigs. So if there's anything else more that you guys would like to know that you feel you would even want to be in this to teach somebody else. So for example, in the beginning, there's a lot of courses, like in the wig making courses, most of those courses are video, right? However, for the color courses, I wanted you guys to have more PDF files so that you could print it and make a book out of it. So you can go back to it and you can make that into an SOP, a standard operating procedure, so that you're not spending so much time trying to train people to help you grow your business. That was a primary problem of why I could not grow in a brick and mortar, is because I had to teach people as I was going. And that is, you guys, that broke me financially, trying to fix those areas. I lost so many clients because of the errors that these people did on my units. Even without me training them, when I walk away and I'm not there, they do something different. And honestly, it was my fault as well, because I didn't have an SOP for them where I said, hey, well, this step, you skip step 4. This is why this happened. So I'm making a big shortcut for y'all, because that would help you grow in your business as well. You can hire a new student. You say, okay, here, let's train together. Here's your book. Here's your SOP. This is how many of these I need. I need 6 balayage units today. Or don't be like me. I need 6 balayage units, this week. This is how I want to do it. This is the tone that I want. This is how you get the tone, everything. So let me know if there's any more that you would like me to add, but it just continues to get better. So there's going to be more content being added to it as well. So
ventilating and nodding is one.
Ventilate. Yep. I do. And that's going to be in our wig repairing. So I think that's going to be 5, 6. Yeah. So we're going to do repairs, because that's also quick. That's quick buck, in my opinion.
Right.
Simple. Like, people will pay to fix, these Freedom Couture wigs or these Jewish wigs that are like 10,000, 15,000. It is so hard to find people to fix it. And also, I'm so happy, like, I just get to let it all out. But if you feel that your sales are a little slow right now, I would start contacting local wig shops, specifically Jewish wig shops, or just like, regular, even I call them the Caucasian wig shops, with the church wigs and the grandma wigs, all that. Contact them and let them know that you make wigs, and then you also service them, because a lot of these companies don't color, they don't repair, they don't style. They just have a stock there, and they have somebody kind of just like whoever else. Like, I used to work for a wig shop like that. So you can basically pick up contracting jobs with local wig makers around you as well. So I would say look into that. And if you guys have any questions on kind of like trying to build your clientele as well, without depending so much on retail is hard. You want to kind of pivot more into wholesale, or just like, where you're working in bulk, right? So that's where wig shops come in handy. Don't look at them as a threat. Look at them as an opportunity to kind of like expand and grow with them until you're able to do what you want. So I would highly recommend that, going more towards wholesale and private wig making and private repairing and all that, because that's also going to be people I'm looking for to expand my company as well. So a long journey, but we got it. How are you guys doing with your courses so far?
So far, so good. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah, I can hear you.
I had to, I usually make mine from scratch. So I've had to order some. Yeah. So I don't know like the quality of some of these closures. So I'm nervous. So we'll see how, yeah. So, because I usually make my own. So
I hear you. You know what, too? So not to get too much into your business, but do you have a manufacturer that you purchase your lace and your pieces from? You just started that, right?
Yeah, so I have a distributor to get the hair from, but I've never ordered closures or lace fronts from them. I've only ordered the hair. So I just ordered some from them that should be here on Monday. So I'm gonna see the type of quality, and I could take a picture of it and send it to you if you don't mind.
I definitely don't mind. I would love to help guide you, because I've had some pretty crooked manufacturers and just awful people.
Yeah.
I don't have to we don't have to share that, but I can tell by the work. So if you guys need advice on that there, I literally look at it, I'm like, I know who that is. So if you guys want advice on that, I'm here to help as well. Also, once you do find a manufacturer that you trust, you want to remember that you have a lot of power still. You don't want to give them too much power with creating your product. And you also want to be careful on how much you send them to work, because if you are working with people in China, they will take whatever, manipulate it, all that. They'll take copies of it. And you already know how that story goes. So usually when I work with manufacturers, they're in India or Jerusalem. So I want you to also kind of branch out from like Alibaba and AliExpress and start looking on LinkedIn and India Import. India Import, I found really good suppliers on there. But it's a funky little website in my opinion. But what I do is I look for them and then I see their information. I look for their Instagram, and then I also look for their just all their social media panhandles, honestly, through their information. And then I'll start by ordering like one of everything, like one bundle of wavy, one bundle of straight, uh, their frontals and their closures. And then also you want to, or if you can, order a little bit of everything, because some suppliers are really good with frontals,
Yeah.
amazing, but their bundles are awful, or their bundles are amazing, but their closures and frontals are just not up to date yet. So you want to order a little bit of everything, but then you also don't want to get hooked on one. You don't want to have all of your eggs in one basket. So in my opinion, I personally like to work with between 2 to 4 suppliers, different manufacturers, and suppliers. Because if one is raising their prices, I need another option, because I can't raise my prices right away. I need to give myself about 6 months in advance. So if one's raising up their prices, then I'm going to go to this one, and they both provide very good quality, like your top 5 suppliers that just superb quality, very consistent, and that might take years to find and build, but you just always test hair. Like every 3 months, you should be ordering from a new supplier, honestly, and just testing their hair if you can. When you get to that point financially, it is hard. And then also you want to make sure that when you make payment transactions, try to stick to a credit card, because God forbid they did try to, can't, scan you, God forbid. Or if I remember one time I got just like the worst hair I could possibly, like I couldn't even do anything with it. I had to throw it away. So it was like 3 grand. And thankfully I got my money back from Western Union, but that will never happen again. And I actually can't even use Western Union again anymore because they flagged me. But I they send you a little bit of the good stuff in the beginning to hook you in, and then they start slacking off. And I will also say that you want to avoid factories that are really, really big. And then also factories that are super, super small, where they have like 5 to 10 people. You want somebody that has a good between like 20 to 30 people as factory size. The reason why you don't want to work with a factory that has so many people is they're constantly training new people, new people, new people. So the products are hit and miss. So my suppliers, I've noticed that too. I'm like, okay, I can't work with you because one week you're giving me the best quality, and then the next week it's scraps. Like I can't do that. It's confusing my audience. I lost a lot of customers like that. So please avoid that as much as possible. I would say the first 6 transactions with them, I would start ordering more. So still give them the baby orders. They're gonna complain and like, oh, we do minimum order. Okay, fine, minimum order quantity 5. That's fine. I'll do just as much as needs me, just as much to get me through. But don't get carried away to order bulk, because I promise you, I've ended up in a situation like that where I got excited, I got fooled by the pictures, I ordered in bulk, but then they couldn't keep up with the order. They had too many new people they were training, and these people will lie to you so they can get that, get you in and reel you in. So I think after the 6th time of a happy transaction, I will gladly spend 10 grand with you. But right now, you might get 1,000. You
Right,
might get
right.
1,000. So, but once you get there, you guys, if you have any questions, use that mentorship chat. I haven't really been in there too much because I've been working on the color courses, and I'm trying to teach someone teach you in a way that you've never heard of color before. So it is a little bit tricky. Some of you, you've been to cosmetology school, so you'll pick up quickly. But other than that, that course is a lot longer and more detailed. However, when it comes to the next week 5 and 6, we'll be doing wig repairing, wig maintenance, and like just like additional stuff, like little things like repairing a hole, stuff like that. If there's anything more that you guys can think of, I already have my list, just add it in the chat. And I just want to add as much as you possibly can. If you want me to teach you how to make wefts, I can also do that as well, but I need to see the energy in the chat so I'm not spending time making a course that you guys don't really want to take. So I can also teach you guys how to do wefts on a traditional, regular flat sewing machine. All right. So I guess we are good tonight. I kept you guys a little bit 8 minutes past. Not too bad, not too bad. Let me see. Yeah, I've lost money saying I don't repair. Girl, yes, 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 yes. Yeah, you definitely want to pick up where everyone's leaving off. Trust me, there's plenty of money to go around. There's too much money to go around. I've actually I'm considering on creating a directory list and just kind of like hiring like more of like a mobile, not mobile, but like a remote team of wig repairs. So if you are comfortable after these courses repairing wigs, let me know. I'm going to add you to my list, and we can work on a price list together where I can send you pieces to repair for my team. So let me know if that's something you're interested in. Any way that I can support you guys, you keep me posted, all right? All right, well, you guys have a wonderful night. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Talk soon. Bye.
Bye.